Hi, welcome to Back to School Night, and such an odd back to school night that it is. My name is Stephanie Castellano, and this is Art by Computer Design. Uh, I've been an art teacher here at Rutherford High School for 14 years, and in addition to teaching art by computer design, I also teach all three levels of ceramics. I teach AP Art History, and I also am the advisor of Art Club. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Art by Computer Design. Art by Computer Design is one of the longest titles of any of the classes in the school. So we like to abbreviate it and call it ABCD, which is a lot of fun, kind of funny. Uh, and what Art by Computer Design is basically a visual arts course, a computer graphic visual arts course. So we talk a lot about graphic design and visual communication. And we start with the basics and we talk about how the elements and principles of design are used in order to communicate different ideas and aesthetic to the viewer and how we can do that in a quick way. And we talk about where we see computer graphics in the world. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the students get graded. So first, 15% of their grade is based on their participation. So when we're talking participation, since we're talking about this odd hybrid year, we're talking about both participation in the classroom when they're working either on a drawing, on a design that we're doing, or working on a computer program, or when they're working at home. So I've started the school year off by giving them different in-class and virtual assignments. So we're kind of alternating. Once we start on the computer programs, I foresee us working simultaneously. So it doesn't matter whether they're at home or in school, they'll be working on their Chromebooks. And I think we can kind of align everyone. But either way, their participation, I'm going to ask to see their progress for the day, and they'll get full credit based on what they've completed for class for the day. And it'll be a weekly participation grade. 45% of their grade will be based on their projects. Their project grade will be a final grade, and they will have rubrics for these. And it will be based on how well they follow directions, in addition to utilize the elements and principles of design and made a clear and concise visual representation of our topic or of the assignment, how well they utilized color to present their idea, and how well they use either the vector program or the raster program, and the tools within those programs to create their design. 15% is based on their original sketches or designs. So each of the assignments that they have, specifically when we're in the vector program, which normally is Adobe Illustrator, they will be completing sketches or designs for, because the vector program is more of like an original design program, an illustration program, if you will. So we create those on paper first, and then they translate them into digital imagery. And they will have a sketch rubric that goes along with that. We haven't gotten to those sketches yet. When we do, I will share the rubric with them and explain it to them, and it will be posted on Google Classroom. 15% is based on a progress indicator. So the progress indicator is basically their classwork, and their ability to hand things in by the due date. And 10% is their homework. So work to be completed. So some of those would be sketches or small assignments that I give overnight in preparation for classwork or projects that we're doing in class. So what is graphic design? Graphic design is visual communication. So we see this everywhere around us, everywhere we look, every day. So we can look back to some of these old posters, and students, your sons and daughters, have seen this as well. We see Uncle Sam pointing out at us, "I want you," for the U.S. Army. They're trying to sell us. They're trying to communicate that they need people to join the Army, right? So using Uncle Sam as a visual representation of the United States, of the Army, and they want people to join. This is with the women. When the men were off at war, the women took over in the jobs and the factories, and we have women showing empowerment. We can do it. We can work in the factories. We can support our men, support our families while men are off at war. We talk about the ability to use different colors to make things bright and bold, clear, concise lines. We'll incorporate letters and type font into each of our designs. We talk about logo design. So here we see the Twitter logo, and we do a little logo game, and we talk about what logos we can identify and why we think the different companies created these logos. So we talk about both image-based logos and type font logos. So all of us are familiar with Coca-Cola, one of our oldest logos that we have. And even if you can't read, you can identify the Coca-Cola logo. So we talk about what makes a strong logo, including color, type fonts, imagery, how many colors we use, how bold it is, where it's located, so on and so forth, how much it represents the company. So students will be creating their own logos. We talk about the elements of principles of design. We also talk about layout. So here are two posters that I picked out that are both elements of design. And we talk about different ways that you can create layouts to make it easy for the viewer to identify what they're looking at. And we look at other areas of our lives where we see visual communication, like in the supermarket on most of the products that we buy with our stamps, right? And we talk about the different ways that advertisers or graphic designers choose to relay this visual imagery to us. So here are some student examples of work that previous students have done over the years. Now, normally we start our year, the first half of the semester, we work in Adobe Illustrator because we're not using the Macs in the classroom because we don't want to share equipment and we have this hybrid schedule. We're using a program called Vector that all students can access through their Chromebooks. It has most of the same tools as Adobe Illustrator, so they'll have the same basic skills. So we've already started in class working on a still life drawing. So students have taken photographs of a still life that I set up in the classroom, and they have drawn a contour line drawing, and we're just transitioning into putting black with Sharpie marker in the background to have the still life objects appear in the negative space as the white. And once they're finished with that, we'll translate that into the Vector program, and they'll learn how to use some of the basic tools like the pen tool and the shape tools to fill in those black areas. After that, we'll go on to the logo design. So one of my previous classes designed the logo for RTV, which is the TV studio that's downstairs that produces each of our morning shows every morning, the RHS morning show. Occasionally we do the Google Doodles. Depends on which semester the class runs when we do the Google Doodles. So here's an example of a previous student's Google Doodle. How's my timer? I'm going over clearly. We also work on some self-portraits, and we talk about pattern design and ways to create color schemes. And this is when we get into a little bit more of the detailing and a tool called Live Trace and Live Paint in Adobe Illustrator. So we're going to utilize something similar in Vector. We work on pattern design and self-portraits. And we do a surrealism design. Now, I don't know if we'll have time to get through all of these before we get into our roster program. After our Vector program, we normally move into Adobe Photoshop. And in Adobe Photoshop, we learn to combine images together. So they utilize some found images. We talk about copyright law. We talk about using type font, and they combine imagery together to create advertisements, to create posters. So these were both used for art show designs in the past. So this is an individual senior art show. And then this was for the overall, freshman through senior art show held in the library each year. We do an assignment called a painterly photo, where they find a famous painter and they take an original photo of their own, and they use that artist painterly style to recreate their photo using Photoshop. And then here's another one that we see uses surrealism. And throughout the whole course, students will be problem solving. They will be working on their design skills utilizing elements and principles of designs to create a strong composition, working on a way to create a strong visual communication, and they'll also be advancing their skills or learning skills on the digital programs, both vector and roster programs. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation and that you look forward to seeing some of your son or daughter's artwork in Art by Computer Design. And I hope you have a great night. Bye.